Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing a book review on The Fox Wife by Yangsze Choo. Set in 1908 Manchuria, The Fox Wife by Yangsze Choo follows a shape-shifting fox woman named Snow who is determined to find the person who murdered her child. A detective named Bao is hired to find out who killed a courtesan and discover her identity. And a family suffers a terrible fate that every firstborn son dies before their 24th birthday. Friends and enemies unite, secrets are revealed, and the truths and misconceptions about foxes are discovered. Yeah, guys, I hate to say this, but this book ended up being a wee bit of a disappointment for me, unfortunately. I have previously read Yangsze Choo's The Ghost Bride and The Night Tiger, and I absolutely adored both of those books. So when I found out that this book was coming out, I was just immediately hyped and ready for this book and so excited. And yeah, I kind of left this book being a little disappointed and a little frustrated with kind of just the narrative structure of this book and just a lot of the plot elements more than anything. I just feel like this book didn't entirely end up going about the way that I was kind of hoping it would. I guess it's kind of hard to describe what I was kind of looking for with this book. I felt like at times this book just read a little too slowly for me, and here's the thing that's really conflicting about this book for me as well. There were times that I felt like there wasn't enough going on, but then at other times there was too much going on. So for me, this book just often kind of felt a little unbalanced at times and a little kind of all over the place. And sometimes it was kind of this thing of, okay, what is the point of all of this going on? And it takes a long time to kind of finally get the threads of the story going and to get the various different threads finally kind of tied in together. And then even then, once a lot of stuff is kind of tied together and things start to make sense, there's still just other elements of the plot that I left the book going, okay, what was the point of this plot? What was the point of that plot? There was just a lot of elements of the story that just felt like they didn't go anywhere, or I just still had a lot of questions, and I kept thinking, did Yangsze Choo forget about that? Or was it purposely meant to be ambiguous? I don't know. So what initially intrigued me about this book was definitely the whole thing of it being about foxes. I love foxes in real life. Foxes are just the cutest little things. So yeah, this is going into like Chinese lore and mythology in regards to foxes, and kind of in mythology and lore, that foxes are usually like tricksters and seducers and whatnot. So yeah, this book is primarily kind of told in the point of view of a female fox, and she's kind of going through, all of the truths and lies and misconceptions about foxes, and she's like, hey, this is what's accurate. Okay, there's some kernels of truth in this over here, So she's kind of giving you all the answers about what's going on with foxes and what's truth and what's fiction. So the main plot elements of this story, like I said, we're following a shape-shifting fox woman named Snow. You learn pretty quickly what her mission is. You find out that her daughter has been murdered. You get answers to how that came about over the course of the narrative, but yeah, from the get-go, you know that she's looking for the murderer of her child, and she's after like a specific person, and she needs to find this person because she believes it's this person. Another main character is an elderly detective named Bao, and he is essentially like a human lie detector. Yeah, guys, I kid you not. We get answers to that as well, or rather his backstory, the fact that at a very young age, Bao, he could tell when people are lying, essentially. He gets like a little ringing and buzzing in his ear when someone is lying. So that makes his position as a detective perfect, Criminals can't lie to him. He'll know you're lying. So his story is wrapped around a young courtesan who is discovered like out in like some snow and whatnot, and she's dead. So his whole thing is trying to figure out the identity of this courtesan and just figure out who murdered her, essentially. And then another plot thread in this book revolves around a family who have some sort of terrible curse placed upon them, where every firstborn child in the family, he and I guess a male, I think it has to be a male child, every firstborn male child dies before their 24th birthday. So we're following this family who has this curse placed upon them, and yet one of the young men in that family, he is the firstborn, and yeah, his father is about to have another child with like another woman, so yeah, that would make that child, you know, the second heir. So yeah, this other young guy is, his 24th birthday is approaching, and he's really paranoid the entire book, like, oh my god, if my father has a son, I'm done for. So yeah, those are your main plots, and that's not counting all of the other characters and little side plots that are going on, because there's also a pair of two male shape-shifting foxes who have history and relationships with snow. So there's like that trio of foxes that's really fascinating, that whole story and dynamic and history. And then there's like a whole nother side plot involving like some medical students who are like part of some revolutionary group who are trying to overthrow the government. So that's what I was saying, that there's a lot going on in this book, but at the same time, sometimes not enough. There's just so much kind of just randomness in this book, and it just sometimes felt a little overwhelming, and it honestly got to the point where I was questioning, like, okay, what is the point of this, you know? And without overly spoiling anything here, there's a whole big sequence where pretty much all of our major main characters, they're getting on a ship to go to Japan for their own reason, and once they get to Japan, it's like they're there, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, we gotta turn around and go back. You're there for like maybe just a few chapters, and that whole sequence was kind of like, okay, what was the point of them going to Japan? Because really, as I was kind of sitting there kind of thinking about it, it really just felt like an excuse, because Snow herself needed to get there to kind of get certain elements of her plot going. But in the meantime, the other main characters, it didn't benefit any of them in any sort of real way, in my opinion. It honestly all just felt a little pointless. So I just feel like there were certain elements of this plot I just wish Yangsze Choo would have maybe, I don't know, thought through a little better, maybe done some more editing in certain places. I honestly don't know. Once again, you know, I say this all the time, writing is hard, you guys. Writing is hard. It's hard to just come up with, you know, perfection in books. Because even Bao's story, the detective, even his story with the courtesan, you know, I was initially very intrigued with that whole thing with the courtesan. But then once again, it kind of gets to a certain point in the plot that I started not caring anymore about it. And I kid you not, you guys, I finished this book, and my last thought with this book was, wait a minute, who did kill the courtesan? Did I miss that? So I had to get like on Google and type it in to get an answer, because I seriously could not even remember if that had even been revealed at some point in this book. And apparently it had been revealed, and I think I just totally glossed over it and didn't really pay attention. So it's a lot of stuff like that I found myself having to Google answers, because there were just many times I kind of just, seriously, I kind of glossed over things. I zoned out on a few occasions. And I'm frustrated about that. You know, I'm frustrated that I had that attitude and mentality with this book, because I was just so looking forward to this book, and I was so excited, and it just ended up kind of frustrating me a little bit that I wasn't having a good time with this book. Now, yeah, in conclusion here, this video may sound like I hated this book. I didn't hate this book. Let me be clear about that. I didn't hate this book. I've read far worse trash and garbage, okay? Let's be real here. There is far worse trash and garbage out there with literature, and this book is nowhere near that. just because this book didn't work for me, it may have worked for you. I think what worked with this book for me was definitely the characters. I really adored the characters. I didn't really see any flaws with the characters. If anything, I would have loved to just learn more about them. For me, I think what this book should have strictly focused on was the relationship and the history between the main fox characters. Like I said, we have Snow and then two male shape-shifting human foxes. I would have loved this novel just to be that trio and to really go into their history and backstory and their issues and their demons with one another. And yeah, still have the plot with Snow looking for the murderer of her child, you know. But yeah, I kind of found it unnecessary for like the whole detective thing with Bao going on with the courtesan. And then yeah, the family with the curse placed upon them where the firstborn male dies before their 24th birthday, you know. Once again, I left the book going, what was the point of that whole curse? There was nothing given to that curse. You know, there was no history or backstory with that curse. It's just kind of there. Nothing is done with it. You don't ever really entirely go back to it in some ways. So I really would have loved this story to just be the fox characters. That was the most interesting thing. And yeah, even though I loved all the characters, those three characters are definitely the far superior characters in my opinion. So yeah, I just felt like this book was a little rather rushed in places, just certain elements abruptly just kind of concluded without any answers or anything, just a heavy amount of ambiguity which felt unnecessary for a book like this. And even though this book disappointed me, I am definitely still here for Yangsze Choo. Every single book she is going to write in the future, I am still here for all of her future books. Like I said, I love The Ghost Bride and The Night Tiger. Those were two hits for me. And you know, authors, not every book is going to be perfect. You know, there's going to be the books you love, the books that you hate. So I'm definitely anticipating to love future books by Yangsze Choo. This one just didn't do it for me, unfortunately, which, once again, I am so devastated about that because I wanted to love this book so much. So, you guys, that is it for my thoughts and feelings on Yangsze Choo's The Fox Wife. In the comments below, hopefully you guys like this book better than me. Like I said, it's not a terrible book. It's definitely not a terrible book. I think the writing is still absolutely gorgeous in places. Yangsze Choo just has such a natural gift with language and words. It's gorgeous. It's kind of just the plot that suffered for me. But yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions about this book, whether you loved it or you hated it. Just let me know your thoughts down below. So that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye, guys.